There are days when the invitation is nice, the company is dear, the place is cool. But even so, everything inside you says no, and you can't even explain why. You only know that going out feels heavy, and staying home feels right. If this happens to you more times than you can count, you can breathe easy. You are not alone, and you are not wrong. What many call isolation, being picky, or antisocial, may actually be a sign of something much deeper. A sign that you are a chosen one. The chosen ones are different. They have a more sensitive soul, a more awakened mind, a quieter heart. While the world runs outside, they feel a call to look within. And this call often manifests as a simple, "I don't want to go out today." But this no is not about physical tiredness, nor about laziness. It's about alignment, about protecting one's own energy, listening to what is in the soul's subtext, staying whole in a world that lives broken. And where does this happen most easily? At home. The home of the chosen one is more than a place with walls and furniture. It is a field of protection. It is where they can be who they really are, without needing to explain themselves, without spending energy trying to fit into environments that do not speak their language. This video is for you, who has felt strange for preferring silence to noise, peace to movement, your room to the hustle and bustle of the street. You will discover that this way of being is not a problem. It is an answer. It is a sign that your soul is awake and trying to show you something. Stay with me until the end, because we are going to dive deep into this. I will show you 7 truths that reveal why this misunderstood behavior occurs, and why it is, in fact, one of the greatest strengths a chosen one can have. And before we begin, a different request than usual. If you feel that this content touched something in you, that recognized you in some way, follow this channel, not out of habit, but for connection. Because here, we speak the language of those who listen to the world with their hearts. For those who are chosen, home has a meaning that goes far beyond comfort or routine. It is like a personal sanctuary, where the soul can rest without fear, pressure, or unnecessary noise. Being at home is not just being within 4 walls. It is being in a space where everything makes sense. While the world outside seems to operate on autopilot, with urgencies that don't stop and sounds that don't quiet, the chosen one finds in their own home a place to return to their center. There, they can breathe more slowly, feel time pass in a different way, and simply exist without needing to defend themselves. It is within the home that the chosen one feels they can relax their shoulders, drop the masks, and silence what is excessive. The home becomes a cocoon where they reconnect with what is essential. It is where the mind calms and the spirit reorganizes. It's not that they fear the world. It's that they know the weight that certain environments bring. Crowds, shallow conversations, agitated energy. All of this drains them with an ease that few understand. That's why staying at home is not an escape. It's self-care. This space they lovingly build, whether simple or full of details, carries their energy. Every corner has a story, a vibration, an intention, and everything there seems aligned with their essence, as if the house understands them better than anyone else. There are days when just crossing the threshold of home, they already feel their body relax. It's as if the soul says, "Here I can be myself." And this feeling is too precious to be ignored. Few know the value of a space where you can exist without justifying yourself. The home is also the place where they listen to themselves, where thoughts come into focus more clearly, where difficult decisions are made not in haste, but in presence. They know that the silence found there is wiser than many pieces of advice out there. When the chosen one is at home, they recharge. It's as if they plug into an invisible socket that quietly recharges them with calm, focus, and meaning. And this makes them more whole to deal with whatever comes next, even if they don't go out often. The home of the chosen has scents, light, and sounds that comfort. Sometimes it's the chirping of a bird at the window. Other times, it's the sound of the wind outside while they read in silence. These are small details that nourish the deepest parts of their soul. There, they don't need distractions. They don't need 1,000 stimuli. The peace of being within themselves is enough. And this is not loneliness. It is presence. It is connection. It is the wisdom of someone who has learned that the inner world needs space to blossom. The chosen one knows that home is where the soul finds shelter after so many struggles, where they can look within without fear of what they will see. Because there they are safe. They are whole. They are at peace. And it is in this peace that they gain strength. While the world demands movement, they choose silence as their path. Home, therefore, is not a destination, but a starting point. The place where everything begins to make sense. So when they say that they are missing out on life by not going out, they smile inside. Because only they know how much is gained when one is at home, in body, soul, and truth. The chosen one perceives what most do not see. They feel the environment. They feel the people. They can even feel what hasn't been said. Sometimes just entering a place is enough to know that something is out of balance, even if everything seems normal on the outside. This sensitivity is not a choice. It is nature. They do not seek these sensations. They simply arrive, invade, and touch deeply. And that is why loud environments filled with people and agitated energy tire them out so much. It is not being picky. It is about carrying more than most can handle. Parties, meetings, shopping centers, even a longer conversation in a tense place. All of this demands a lot from them. The chosen one is not avoiding people because they do not like them. They are just listening to what their body and soul are saying. It's too heavy here. Many judge this attitude as isolation or antisocial behavior. But those who are sensitive know there are places that drain us and others that heal us. And learning to choose where to place oneself is an act of wisdom, not weakness. The chosen one is not at war with the world. They just understand the invisible fields better. They feel when a conversation is loaded with intention, when an environment has dense energy, when someone says, "Everything is fine," but it isn't. This affects them deeply. It's as if they have an antenna always on. And contrary to what many think, this sensitivity does not only bring lightness, it also brings weight when it is not respected. The fatigue of those who feel too much does not come from the body. It comes from the soul. That is why, when the chosen one chooses silence, it is not cowardice. It is self-preservation. They are protecting themselves from an excess that many do not even notice, but that becomes unbearable for them. And this requires courage. The courage to leave places that do not do them good, even when everyone is there. This sensitivity also makes them more empathetic. They perceive the pain in others' eyes, even when there are smiles. They feel when someone is holding back from breaking down. And this perception creates deep, real bonds because they do not just see with their eyes. They feel with their hearts. But this also makes them selective, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. They choose with whom they will open up, where they will be, how they will spend their energy. Because they have learned, perhaps at a great cost, that they cannot surrender to just any environment. They know that their light was not made to shine everywhere. And this does not make them weak. It makes them wise. It makes them someone who listens more to what they feel than to what others say they should be. The chosen one trusts their intuition more than the rules of the world. This sensitivity is a rare gift, though it sometimes feels like a burden. It helps them avoid wrong decisions, to notice signs before others do, to understand people without needing them to explain everything. It is a gift that, well cared for, becomes a guide. But for this, they need pauses, silence, light places, time alone. The chosen one does not recharge with chaos, but with presence. Being away from everything is often the only way to return to themselves. They have learned that taking care of their energy is not selfishness. It is self-love, and that it is not necessary to explain themselves to those who do not feel the same way. What they experience is real. Even if many do not understand, they know, and that is enough. Being sensitive is not being weak. It is being attuned to the invisible. It is perceiving what matters, even in the midst of chaos. And the chosen carry this sensitivity as one carries a sacred map. They do not show it to everyone, but they know exactly where it leads them. While the world seems to live in constant haste, the chosen one follows a different rhythm. They do not feel comfortable rushing just because everyone else is. They do not see the point in filling their time with empty activities, just to seem productive or socially active. For them, time is sacred, not because they want to do 1,000 things, but because they want to feel what they do. They need pauses. They need breaths. They need to connect with the present moment without the pressure of always being focused on the next step. This slowing down is not laziness. It is presence. They value the quality of time, not the quantity of things done. An afternoon in silence, a deep reading, a coffee while looking at the sky. All of this holds more value than an entire day filled with soulless commitments. The chosen one realizes that when they live at the world's pace, something gets lost. Their ideas get jumbled. Their emotions become confused. Their body screams for rest. Then they learn over time that their internal clock is different and must be respected. Going out for the sake of going out. Doing things for the sake of doing things. Being there for the sake of being there. All of this makes them restless. They were not born for superficiality. They need purpose in each choice, even in the simplest ones. And when that purpose does not exist, they prefer to retreat. Staying at home is not stopping life. It is making space for true life to happen within. The time of the chosen one is like nature. It does not rush, it does not hurry, it does not get distracted. They follow the flow of the soul, which is slower, but much more authentic. For the chosen one, time is not made of scheduled hours, but of moments lived with presence. They prefer to take their time and do things with soul than to do them quickly and emptily. They do not care about appearing slow, because they know that, inside, they are going far. This different rhythm also helps them see what many ignore. They notice details, feel nuances, listen to what is between the lines. Because they are not with a racing mind. They are with an attentive heart. And this changes everything. While some see time as an enemy to be defeated, the chosen one sees it as an ally to be understood. They do not fight against time. They walk with it, respecting what each moment has to offer. Being this way may bother those who live in a rush. It may seem strange to those who do not understand the value of silence and slowness. But the chosen one does not hurry to please anyone. They prefer to be true to their rhythm, even if this takes them away from certain paths. Because they know, the time of the soul is not measured by a clock, it is felt in the heart. What seems empty to many is full of meaning for the chosen one. Being alone, for them, is not a punishment. It is a return, a path back inside, where the answers reside and where the soul is rebuilt in silence. While the world associates loneliness with sadness, they see opportunity. An opportunity to listen to themselves more clearly, to feel what is truly pulsing inside, to look at the wounds, not with fear, but with the courage to heal. The presence of others is important, of course, but the chosen one knows that there is a type of healing that only happens in retreat. When the external noise quiets down, what was hidden begins to emerge. And instead of fleeing from it, they embrace it. They do not need to fill every hour of the day with conversation, movement, or distraction. Sometimes all they want is time to do nothing. And in that nothing, they find everything: rest, peace, answers, and direction. Being alone is when they feel the most accompanied. The soul speaks. The intuition shows paths. Sensitivity strengthens. They perceive themselves as they truly are, without interference. It is an honest, raw, but liberating encounter. Many think that they isolate themselves because they are sad, but it is quite the opposite. They withdraw to avoid losing themselves. The chosen one understands that if they do not take care of their inner space, they end up confusing themselves with the energy of others, and this throws them off balance. Silence does not scare them. Silence calms them. They have learned that the discomfort that emptiness brings at first is just the superficial layer. After it passes, there is a depth there that heals, a type of peace that is not found anywhere outside of oneself. It is in solitude that they rebuild themselves, that they understand what they feel without the opinions of others, that they notice what needs to change without distractions, that they forgive the past, honor the present, and prepare for what is to come. This time alone makes them stronger, more sensitive, and more aware. They return different, more whole, more aligned with who they truly are. And because of this, when they return to the world, they come back with more presence, more truth, and more light. The chosen one does not flee from the world, but they know that to be well in the world, they must first be well with themselves. And this is only possible when there is time and space to look inward. For them, solitude is like a soul bath. It washes away what weighs them down, clears up what was confusing, and leaves only what is real. And this inner cleansing helps them live with more lightness, even when everything around seems heavy. That is why they choose, whenever possible, moments of solitude, because they know that each time they enter this silence, they come out of it more alive, cleaner, and more whole than before. The chosen one has heard it all, that they are strange, that they need to loosen up more, that they are wasting their life. But over time, they have learned not to take these phrases too seriously. They come from those who do not understand the path they have chosen, or rather, the path their soul has chosen. You need to go out more sounds like noise to someone who has found peace in their own company. That's not healthy. Feels like a judgment from someone who measures health by movement, not by inner harmony. The chosen one is no longer offended by this. They simply take a deep breath and continue at their own pace. They have tried to fit in. They have forced smiles, conversations, and presences. But they realize that this pulled them away from themselves. The price of pleasing the world was too high. It cost their energy, their peace, their truth. So they chose to preserve themselves. They do not isolate themselves out of sadness. They retreat out of wisdom. They do not shy away out of fear. They protect themselves out of awareness. They feel that they have something to fulfill in this life, and that being whole is an essential part of that mission. And being whole, for them, requires space, silence, and respect for their own time. The judgment of the world no longer defines them. They have understood that not everyone will comprehend what they feel. And that is okay. They no longer seek approval. They no longer seek explanations. Their sensitivity does not need to be justified to those who live on another frequency. They do not want to convince anyone. They just want to be true to what they feel. And those who are like this naturally begin to attract people who respect their essence. People who do not force presence, who do not demand change, who welcome silence as part of the conversation. Being chosen is understanding that living differently is not a mistake. It is merely following a path that few see. And this requires courage, constancy, and self-confidence. Because the noise of the world is loud, but the voice of the soul is stronger when one learns to listen. The world may judge, but they no longer bow down, because they have discovered that their peace does not depend on outside acceptance, but on the truth that exists within them. And this truth is what sustains them, even when no one understands. For the chosen one, home goes beyond physical comfort. It is a sacred space. Every corner has a soul. An object has a story. A plant has care. A soft light has a purpose. Nothing is there by chance. Everything carries a silent intention of connection, peace, and presence. Anyone who visits their home quickly notices there is something different there. A good silence, a light energy, a feeling that that space has been prepared with care, with soul. And it has, because for the chosen one, living is a spiritual act, and the home is the soil where this spirituality blossoms. They do not need to explain this, nor do they want to. Their faith is discreet, deep, silent. It does not show off, it does not impose. It simply lives, breathes, illuminates. And that is enough. In the home, the chosen one finds not only rest, but also meaning. And that is sacred. The chosen one does not avoid the world out of fear. They feel that there is something greater waiting for them within the silence, an answer that does not come from external voices, a calling that can only be heard when everything outside falls silent. This sensation is profound. It comes from the chest, but touches the soul. It is as if there is something to be remembered, something they need to access, but which only reveals itself in solitude. And they respect this, even if they cannot explain it in words. They are not running away from anything. They are going to meet themselves, to something that pulses within them with strength and truth. They feel that there is wisdom in this retreat, that there is a presence waiting to be recognized, and that this connection does not happen amidst noise. That is why they choose home as a meeting point. It is there that they hear the soul with clarity. It is where intuition speaks louder, where time slows down and everything makes more sense. They feel they need this, and do not ignore this call. What guides the chosen one is not isolation, it is sensitivity. They perceive what others have yet to notice. And however strange it may seem to those who live fast, this internal movement gives direction to their life. The soul wants to be heard, and the chosen one knows this. They create space for this listening, even if they need to distance themselves from the world for a while. Because deep inside, in the silence that few can endure, they find what many do not even know they are searching for. If you have made it this far, you may have felt something awaken inside you, a memory, a relief, a confirmation that yes, there is value in being who you are, and even more, there is meaning. Being chosen is not about being better or worse than anyone. It is about carrying a sensitivity that the world is not used to embracing. It is about realizing that there is something within you that does not align with haste, with noise, with excess. And this is not a flaw. It is direction. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to justify yourself. When you honor your silence, you are healing yourself. When you choose solitude, you are strengthening yourself. When you say no to the world and yes to yourself, you are listening to your soul, and it always knows the way. Staying at home may seem like passivity to many, but for the chosen one, it is preparation. It is prayer in the form of a pause. It is listening in the form of presence. Home becomes a refuge, a temple, a shelter, a mirror. And there, in the silence of their own space, they rebuild themselves with truth. The world outside may continue to call, but you have already learned to listen to what comes from within. And it is this sound, subtle and powerful, that should guide your steps. It will not always be easy, it will not always be understood, but it will be true. And that is everything. If this content spoke to you, share it with those you feel share the same calling, someone who carries this same invitation. And if you want to leave in the comments something that touched you, write, "My home is my place of healing." This way, we recognize each other. This way, we meet, even in silence. And if you feel that this message represents who you are, follow this channel. Not because every video asks for this, but because here, we speak to those who listen with their hearts. To those who have already understood that being at home is not hiding, it is finding oneself.